Daniel Naroditsky, popularly known as Daniel, was announced dead yesterday, and that has left a huge shock on me. He had so much impact on the chess world, and I can remember reading one of his books, and back then my brain couldn't even carry the moves that were on the board, and I was like, one day I'll meet Daniel Naroditsky in person so we can talk on the moves, what he was actually thinking when he played those moves. And it's too sad that that will not longer be possible. In honor of Daniel, we are going to look at a game of his, and this game is nothing short of spectacular. The way he understood the game. Yeah, the game started with a Jobava London, and here he develops his bishop. Daniel is white, and the idea of this Jobava London is to put your bishop on b5 and put pressure on the e7 pawn, which he did. He played e3 because he has succeeded in making the knight awkwardly developed, and here the opponent played e7 with the idea of castling on his next move. Daniel played knight f3, he castles, and this is a very interesting move, a3, stopping any ideas of knight to b4 or bishop to b4 check. His opponent went after his bishop, as this bishop must definitely be captured. Daniel, being an incredible player that he was, decided to make the trade on his own terms by playing bishop to e5, inducing f3 from black, weakening his king side, and then coming back to bishop to g3. Now this move c5 is actually a blunder, and is a blunder because Daniel's knight on b5 is an inaccuracy rather. Daniel's knight on b5 can no longer be kicked away. A better move would have been, pawn to c6. He probably drops back, then c5. But here our opponent goes c5 right away, and Daniel uncocked this brilliance c4, and his opponent did not expect this move in any way. He plays g6, which surprisingly is actually, I think, the best move according to the engine. Daniel developed d3, bishop to d3, and the reason why black hasn't taken this Daniel's bishop on g3 is because this bishop can be captured at any time, so there is really no need to rush capturing the bishop. His opponent takes and he takes back. Now his opponent plays an inaccuracy, and this can be regarded as a mini trap. It's a mini trap because here as white we cannot go knight to c7 hitting black's bishop, because he would just simply capture our knight, and if we capture back he captures the knight and he's up a knight. And if here after he captures we capture the his rook, can capture our rook, and this position is not looking good for us. A move like c7 can't be played. So Daniel here castled, and black developed his knight to c6, rook to e1, and just here our opponent took the bishop. Daniel took back and rook to f7 was played. This move is apparently an inaccuracy. It's an inaccuracy. So Daniel amazingly dropped the bishop back, as the purpose for the bishop being on f7 has been accomplished. Bishop to f8 was played, probably with the idea of going, let's say, here in the long run. So b4 was played here, and here you cannot just rush and play queen to b3, as a move like knight to a5 hits your queen. You must definitely drop back and takes, and this trade obviously benefits black. So Daniel played b4 and knight e7 was played. Now he moved with b3. Surprisingly, this move is actually the best move, or a very good move from black. I cannot begin to grasp the depth of this move. I was actually expecting something like this to Finkedi your bishop, but apparently this move is actually a good move. Rook to e2 was played, bishop to d7, and Daniel doubles up on the e5. He plays rook to c8, and here Daniel played a brilliant move, c5. And c5 is so great because this rook now is really not going to do anything in the position. g5 was played. I really don't know why this g5 was played. I guess it's to stop a move like h4. Here Daniel uncocked a brilliant move, rook to e6. Takes, and he takes back, and Daniel had calculated all through this variation. a6 from his opponent, and Daniel drops his bishop back with the idea of queen to c2, then creating a battery, threatening a mate to black's king. Here black played c6. A move like this would have still been winning for Daniel, but from a human standpoint, this can actually be a threatening position. So here Daniel uncocked another brilliant move, rook takes e7. Queen takes e7 was played. Daniel had calculated in his channel that any other move from black would have led to an immediate destructive position. And he took on d5, queen to e3, pinning the knight to the queen, rook to d7, threatening to win the knight. But here Daniel played queen to d3, threatening his own checkmate. Let's say he moved like this, and this is an easy win. So his opponent solved it by going back to with the king. This is actually a classical game and a very instructive one at that. Here Daniel dropped back knight to e3 with ideas of pawn to d5, hitting the queen and hitting the rook. He drops back rook. Daniel pushes, and here it looks like Daniel had made a mistake. His opponent, being up a rook, decided to give up material. Took, bishop takes d6. Daniel took back. He gave a check. Daniel moved his king up. He took Daniel's bishop. This looked fine for black, but then Daniel started grinding it out with knight to f5, activating his queen, bringing the knight into the game. Knight to h6, hitting the rook. And you can see how his opponent is getting squeezed up by the day. Now Daniel plays this brilliant move, going to f3, hitting both the pawn on b7 and h5. Black can't defend both, so black chose to defend the most sensitive pawn in the game. Daniel took on b7, threatening a mate on g7. So his opponent came up, stopping the mate, and this move, queen to e7, a brilliant move from Daniel. He's threatening to capture the rook, but not even to capture the rook. He's threatening a devastating attack, which you will see in a bit. His opponent played rook to b8 and Daniel gave a check and another check. By the way, the king can't play a move like, let's say, this check. He can't come up here as it's mate in 3. Can you find the mate in 3? This is the mate in 3. Check. The king has to go back. This is mate. This and this is mate. But in the case where the king goes to, g8, you can still give a check, and regardless of what black does, this is still a mate. So his opponent saw that and played king to g8. Then I gave a check and his opponent came up in this position. Now, for an average chess player, this is the move, but not for Daniel. And I think it was here that Daniel's opponent resigned. He resigned because a move like knight to f5. By the way, you can't take this as this is, winning for Daniel. The game has actually been winning for Daniel. And any other move like this still leads to a win. So around this point, Daniel's opponent resigned. Yeah, this is actually the game. And this game is one of Daniel's best games. He has other better games, but I chose this one because I kind of connected with it. Yeah, my deepest condolences to people that were closest to Daniel, to his family, my deepest condolences. And at first when I heard the news, I prayed, I wished it was a prank, but apparently it isn't. My deepest condolences.